Hello everyone, my name is William. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Today we're going to be doing another FSEconomy flight, but in the TBM 930. Wanted to fly something a little bit different, a little bit faster as well. So we're in South Africa here. We'll be flying from Grahamstown to Queenstown, South Africa. A short flight for the TBM. Really getting to enjoy that speed though. So I hope you all enjoy the flight. Let's get on into the planning so we can get on out of here. Alright, so on the FSEconomy site here, we can see our jobs basically. We have loaded up at Grahamstown, and we are carrying these 5 passengers onto Queenstown. It's just 84 nautical miles up towards the northeast for us today. It should be a really short hop for the TBM. Getting it up to speed, maybe just briefly, and then starting our way down into Queenstown. Also picking up a couple other jobs just to kind of keep our options open. You can see we are doing this flight for my flight group in FSEconomy. Just for a moment, I do want to just say, if you're new to FSEconomy, want to get involved at all, these are the aircraft in the group. All you need to do is go into FSEconomy. Once you get your account set up, just send me a private message. My username is Josh L. You can see it highlighted up there. Just send me a message in FSEconomy, or you can also leave a message in the YouTube comments. It'll just probably take me a little bit longer to actually get to it if you do it that way. And these are all the aircraft in the group that you could basically, at the moment, fly if you want to get involved. If not, that's fine. Sit back, enjoy the flight here. We have a... it mapped out here on SkyVector, so you could see really nothing too special. We are going over a little bit of terrain, so I'm at least going to want to go up to about 9,500 feet. And we can also see the segment for turbulence. It says severe turbulence, so we are back with the turbulence once again. Couldn't escape it too long, and it's flight level 050 to 100, so up to 10,000. So I think we'll plan for at least 11,500 for the flight today, just to get us hopefully into some smoother air and really get the speed out of the TBM. But that is really the only little bit for the planning today. Let's go ahead and get into the aircraft so we can get on out of here. Hope you all enjoy. Welcome on board the TBM, everybody. We're here on the ramp at Grahamstown. The aircraft is started up. We're ready to go ahead and start our flight here in the FSEconomy tab, or the client. You can see our aircraft is on the ground and available, so we'll go to Actions, Start Flight, and make sure everything is loaded there. It looks good to me, so let's get the client out of the way. We'll just go through a couple little things. We're on the ramp here. It's a very small ramp, not much to it really. And our paved runway options here at Grahamstown is 16 tree 4. So this right out here at the end is tree 4, and we got a back taxi all the way around if we want to use 16. So we're going to go ahead and go through, get a couple things set up on the aircraft. We'll get our bearing up for GPS. We'll go ahead and turn all of our speed bugs on for the TBM. It's quite nice to have it there. And go to wind. Let's put it on option 3 and see. It looks like it's out of the south at about 10 knots. So we will use runway 16 for departure today. So we can go ahead and set 160 in the heading bug. Overshoot it there. It's about typical. So 160 in the heading bug. We'll also set our altitude up to We'll go ahead and go 11,500, and we'll see how that works as far as smoothing the air out. We'll arm vertical speed mode 2,000 feet a minute for the TBM here, and we'll go ahead and arm heading mode as well. So that's set up. Now then we need to go through and actually set that into the GPS here. So we just plug in the Foxtrot Alpha Quebec Tango and enter. That comes up Queenstown, activate, and that should populate there now. So it is set up in our GPS and we are ready to go. So we'll go ahead and taxi out, go all the way down the runway, and turn around and get ready to get out of here. Okay, holding short here, runway tree 416. It looks clear off to the left, looks clear to the right as well. We got our inertial separator on. Since we're taxiing around on the ground, and wants it to be on for takeoff from what I understand. So we're ready to go ahead and take the runway now. We'll start our way down, go all the way to the end, and I believe there's a little bit down there for us to turn around. We'll go ahead and get our flaps set in the takeoff position. So we're taking runway tree 4. Like I said, we're going to taxi full length all the way down, back taxi, spin it around, take off, and take off to the south with that, hopefully that 10 knot headwind kind of helping us out. It's a little bit too much of a tailwind for sure. So in the TBM, we don't really fly it that much. So we'll just kind of go over it real quick. We're going to rotate, takeoff flaps, rotation speed, we're looking for 90 knots. We'll be looking to climb out at around 125-ish. And then let's see, yeah, we'll climb out 125 and it should be able to get the inertial separator off basically right after departure once we're off the ground. It's just to try and keep it from what I understand, it's just to try and keep the engine from sucking up anything it's not supposed to and potentially damage it. So you kind of keep it on while you're moving around on the ground, or anytime you're getting into any clouds or anything like that, you might want to go ahead and turn it on. Also says to go ahead and have it on for your approach as well. So gonna try and remember to flip that thing on before we start our approach into Queenstown. This thing is a bit of a rocket ship though, so we should have no problem getting up to 11,500, even though it is just a bit of a shorter flight. So we got everything pretty well set up. We'll go ahead and set that on over. And yeah, we do have a little bit of a path to kind of turn around on down here. So we'll go ahead and zoom our map out. Get on top of that now, that way we have that extra kind of overview of what's going on, so we can maintain some situational awareness. We'll turn around here. The TBM turns pretty darn well on the ground, especially compared to something like the Caravan. So no issues. Early morning here in Grahamstown. Just have a beautiful sunrise on the way to Queenstown. I'll line up just a little bit better there. Alright, there we go. So, like I said, we're gonna set the power here, look for 90 knots, and rotate, climb out about 125. Just try and keep it on the center line. So let's set the power. And let's release the brakes. Don't necessarily need to let the power get all the way there. Airspeed's already alive. It's a little bit more difficult to handle this thing on the ground. 70, 80, just 90 knots, rotate. Let it weather vane into the wind a little bit. Let's get our gear up. Go ahead and go yaw damper on. And get our flaps in. Really climbing now. Now that we are up, we can go ahead and turn off the inertial separator. I have to pull the power back. You can see the torque was on 91 right there. But I need to go ahead and pull it back because as more airflow gets into the engine, that torque value is going to start just rising. I'm going to have to pull it back even more before too long. You can see the beautiful sunrise happening over there off towards our left, and the absolutely stunning city down there as well. Let's go ahead and start our left turn. Speaking of left, the power, that torque was almost peaked at 100 already, so got to pull it back even more. Look at the city down there, that is gorgeous. Sunrise is happening just under our nose right now. We'll have it off the right wing. You see the performance difference between this and the Caravan. It is a fun plane to fly. So we'll go ahead and set on like a heading of about 030. We can really pitch the nose up even more. Try and climb through. Sunrise is happening, it's a little bit hard for us to see, but I gotta pull the power back. Just got the torque to flash at us there. Is at about 100. It's one increase in altitude, and that inertial separator takes a long time to fully open all the way back up. It takes a long time to go on as well. I think it's like 30 seconds or something. So bring the nose back down. We're still hand flying the aircraft. Can't quite make it out, but definitely a beautiful sunrise happening over there. We're already at 7,500 feet for 11,500. It's been pretty smooth air so far. I'm not going to complain if we don't get the turbulence that it looked like we might get. And still just hand flying it on up. Don't want to let the autopilot have all the fun today. We're starting to intercept our GPS course a little bit more. Got about 18 knot crosswind, almost direct crosswind on the aircraft right now. As we turn to the right, it'll turn a little bit into a tailwind. Just make the ground speed of this trip a little bit more ridiculous. Let's actually go ahead and plan on going up just a little bit higher. Set 13,000 feet in. Actually, you know what, why not? This thing is a rocket ship. We'll go up to 15,000. Just seems insane. I gotta recalibrate my brain over from the 208. We're going something like 80 miles. Just why would you want to climb up to 15,000? Unless you had to. In this thing, it's no factor. We've been doing about 2,500 feet a minute. And there's some of that turbulence we've been expecting. The wind has picked up to 30, is that right? 31, 32 knots on the side of the aircraft. At least that's not in front of us. 12,000 for 15,000. We're still not exactly on course, but we're not far. And the aircraft just continues to kind of weather vane into it, so we're actually flying 030, but the aircraft's pointing 01 tree, basically. It's now almost 40 knot crosswind on the aircraft. Some insane upper level winds going on around here. 1,800 feet to go. We're almost on our GPS course now. You can see the sun right in the window back there. Beautiful. Bring the aircraft to the right a little bit more, 1,000 feet to go. Go ahead and activate this nav mode. And let's engage the autopilot. Let's let it take over. It's going to capture 15,000. That wasn't necessarily the smoothest handover I've ever done. We'll keep this power setting in. Power is basically perfect right there. We can just let it get all the airspeed we possibly can. We're almost doing 200 knots across the ground already. We're still barely climbing as well. You'll see a little bit of this wind kind of coming around to be a bit of a tailwind. We could find out exactly how much very easily by just going to the wind option 1. So that is 22 knots on the tail, 39 knots on the side. That is some insane wind we have going on up here. But we're at 15,000. Could have gone higher for sure, but we're doing about 270 across the ground. And it is bumpy. Even though we're a bit above that severe turbulence, that's just letting us know there's severe turbulence in the air. It doesn't mean there's not moderate turbulence up here, so we might have a little bit of a bumpy ride. But we have just about 14 minutes to go till we're at Queenstown. That is the way the TBM works. It's up to a decent altitude relatively quick, and then you just haul butt basically all the way there. You can go even higher if we want. You know, why not? We'll go ahead and click in 19,000 and we'll go for a bit of a zoom climb here. So let's get our power. Nope, not that much. Back it off just slightly. It's very sensitive. Let's get our power set. And let's go ahead and go for a vertical speed mode. Do 20. Let's go 2,800 feet per minute. We have the airspeed to kind of burn at the moment anyways. So we'll get up into the flight levels. Well, in the US anyways, the flight levels, from the sounds of it, it's a bit different over here in South Africa. Makes sense. And stay on top of that torque. Make sure we're not getting too crazy with it. The performance of the TBM. This isn't necessarily the greatest way to fly it or anything, but I mean, it's insane, so it does let you kind of get away with doing stuff like this. So we'll go ahead and go over to standard pressure. We have 700 feet to go for the autopilot. It's going to level us out, pull the power back a little bit, stay on top of that. Changes altitude really fast, so it's a little bit I gotta remind myself to actually stay on top of our engine settings. We have 400 feet to go. Could you imagine if we were heading directly east right now with a 50 knot tailwind behind us? This is absurd. Leveling out at 19,000. Still gonna be bumpy, but we'll ride it out up here. Keep our power setting in, and actually I just kind of want to tune it for 55 gallons an hour anyways, so we'll just pull it back just slightly, about 92, 91 on the torque, and we'll let it kind of settle its ground speed out on its own. But we are looking like 55 nautical miles from Queenstown. Queenstown is also at 3,600 feet elevation. So we're flying over a little bit of terrain on the way there. You can kind of see it out the window. It's a little bit hard with the glare. But flying over a little bit of terrain, and Queenstown's a little bit higher up, so we'll only have about 15,000 feet, little less, to little more actually, to descend from 19,000 down to field elevation. So 290 knots across the ground. Looks like we'll be getting in about 11 minutes or so. So we'll start our descent before... we'll start our descent here in probably about 4 minutes. So let's just take in the views for a moment and enjoy the ride. Alright, we have the aircraft almost doing 300 knots across the ground. We're only at 19,000 feet. It's pretty insane. The wind's definitely helping. If you want to look at it that way, it is also Been a little bit bumpy, just some bumps of turbulence though. It hasn't been complete and total violence, so I can't really complain about that aspect of it. We are 33 and a half nautical miles from Queenstown. We have runway 12 and 1230 at Queenstown, and like I said, it's elevation 3,637 feet. So we're gonna plan to go down to 4,500 feet, and we're gonna want to start our descent here in about 20 seconds or so. That'd be 12 minutes at this airspeed. We will slow down a little bit though. Just in the TBM in general though, it's not a bad idea to plan your descent a little bit early. What I've kind of found is it likes to go this fast because it's not a super draggy airplane. So we'll go ahead and start down 2,000 feet a minute, and let's pull our power on back just a touch. I actually don't want to pull it that far back. I want to increase the airspeed just a little bit. That way as we kind of descend down, it stays about the same, and then once we get much lower, it will slow the aircraft, the ground speed down a little bit, and we'll be kind of getting there on time. I think we might have waited just a little bit too long to really make that work though, so we may just have to pull the power out. I think actually we're going to. We're 5 minutes away. Worst case scenario though, we can always do a circle pattern or something like that if we really need to, but we'll go ahead and put in a heading of 300 and the heading bug for the runway here. Turbulence always makes it hard to use these scroll wheels. And we should have the field out in front of us somewhere. Just 24 nautical miles. So a little bit about the descent. We can put our takeoff flaps out at 178 knots indicated, full flaps at 122, and we can put our gear down with our first notch of flaps. So we can put our gear down at 178. Our approach speed with full flaps is going to also be around 80. I think it's 85 knots, and that should be on our speed bug. We could double check that if we want. Just come down here, speed bugs, and it should be VAP 85. Yep, there we go. So that should make it just a little bit easier for us to identify. And you can see from 300 knots ground all the way down to 260. And that's increased our time, obviously, because we're not going as fast over the ground. We're not estimated to be there as fast. That's why normally I'd want to keep the speed up to kind of balance that out. But since we're a little bit late on the descent anyways, and it is tricky to get this aircraft slowed down in time, we'll go ahead and keep our speed where it's at and not worry about it too much. Set the altimeter to local pressure. It looks like the wind is coming out of the west still. With it being that strong up there, I've got to believe it's going to be coming out of the west from on the ground as well. So we'll plan, I think runway 30 is going to be the right call. Which means we're almost going to be flying perpendicular to the field. So we'll probably enter a, right downwind. Or make a right turn to do a downwind, and then left base to final for the runway, unless it makes more sense to fly over if we still got some altitude to burn off. Some altitude or airspeed to burn off anyways. Just looking out there, seeing if I could see anything that resembles an airstrip. Don't think so, not just yet. 13 and a half miles. Go ahead and get our landing light on, and let's get our inertia separator on as well before I forget. This may be a little bit of a clumsy flight. Like I said, don't fly the TBM that much. However, if you do want to see some more flights in the TBM, especially kind of here in Africa, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Let me know. I'd love to fly this thing more. See a cool little town down there. Nice little mountains all the way around. Great visibility. The weather's real nice. Inertial separator is completely and totally on now. So that's good. We did get our landing lights on. Alright. We just went through 10,000 for 4,500. 2.5 minutes to go. So it looks like we'll be on altitude basically right at the field. And this has got to be Queenstown, kind of this population zone right up in here. So runway's gonna be somewhere. I think this river, I think it's on the, if we look here on the map, it should be, yeah, it's on our side of the river as well, so let's just keep our eyes open for the field. As long as we're hanging around this 178-ish knot area, so we can get our landing gear out and our first notch of flaps out, that will really help us out getting the aircraft slowed up and ready for approach. Kind of got a bad habit from the Caravan. This looks like the runway right there to me. The Caravan, it's so easy to get the aircraft slowed down. You really don't even have to think about it. You just get below 150, which is easy in the Caravan, and then the second you do that, you just drop your first notch of flaps, and it's like putting out a anchor. Yeah, that's definitely got to be the airstrip right there. So this is going to be tree 0 over on the right, and 1-2 over here on the left. So we'll go ahead and disengage the autopilot and yaw damper. I think we'll fly over the field. Yeah, I think we'll fly over the field and then make a right-hand turn for downwind and then do our base. So we still got 1,000 feet to go for 4,500. It'll put us right over Queenstown as well, which means we could kind of actually enjoy the scenery of this town. Some mountains all the way around. We could take our time and actually set up, hopefully, a decent approach and not feel super incredibly rushed. So let's go ahead and get our gear out. It's in transition. And let's make our right-hand turn. Alright, so our gear's down. We'll go takeoff flaps out. And we'll fly heading of 120 for our downwind. Getting nice and close to that mountain right there. I think the airfield's just behind us a little bit. We'll fly outbound a little bit more. 120 and about 4,500 feet. I don't mind making this a bit of a longer final. Like I said, I would rather take my time, try and set this thing up a little bit more. And we'll go ahead and do our right-hand turn. We'll probably have to just continue rolling it around into a turn 2 final. But we'll see. And let's pull our power out just slightly. Let's try and get below 122 so we can go full flaps. Yep, let's go ahead and continue this turn. And let's go full flaps. I saw the runway just barely out there. Alright, so let's get it in sight. It's maybe not the greatest approach in. But you can see the runway. Just the threshold of it right out there. Let's get back on our instruments and our airspeed. We're right around 85 knots. Got to get a little bit of power in. We're getting a little slow. I have to sit up in our seat a little bit. Alright, we are on final now, runway 30 into Queenstown. We have quite a crosswind. About 11 knots from 240. A little fast now. Let's pull that power out. Beautiful backdrop to a city, though. No real good aiming markers here on the runway. I'll just fly it down. Aiming for just past the numbers, really. Try and keep it nice and center line. With the crosswind, might be a little bit tricky. On a good airspeed. Pull the power. Start to flare. And right rudder. Don't let it go off to the left too much. And let's start getting on the brakes here. Yeah, that crosswind definitely does make it a little bit more difficult. It's not very strong, but any kind of crosswind in this game makes it a lot more challenging to keep the aircraft on centerline. Let's go ahead and clear the runway here off to the right. Do love flying the TBM. Not the best managed flight by me in any stretch of the imagination, but change of scenery, change of aircraft. Something I would enjoy flying a little bit more if you guys would like to see more. So if you did like the video, make sure to give it a like. Subscribe if you want to see more content, and let me know if you enjoy the TBM and want to see it flown a little bit more as well. So I want to keep that on, actually. Let's turn that off randomly. Let's go ahead and get our taxi light on. We'll turn our strobe light off. Everything else can stay there. And get our flaps up. Taxi off to the hangar here. We'll complete our flight. This is a cool little town, that's for sure. I'm not sure if I would want to keep this aircraft just strictly in South Africa, or kind of just continue to fly around Africa. Do have a caravan in this part of the world as well. Should probably think about doing some flights in it before too long. Alright, me and this guy, we're gonna block this entire pathway. So I'm gonna park up here next to you. Let's go ahead and set the parking brake and get that warning off. We'll bring up the client there if I press the right button. So there you go, you can see it. I'll just complete the flight. Our aircraft is now on the ground at Queenstown, so our flight is complete. Once again, I just want to say thank you all so much for flying along with me today. I enjoy having you guys here and hanging out. I really do appreciate all the support. It means a ton to me, so I hope you all enjoyed. But until next time, bye-bye.